And now, summing up all of the courage and phlegm I can muster, sitting in for Marlo this week, let's say hello to marvelous Marvin Dorner.
Oh, man, you had to pull that one out. The old
Marv.
Hagler thing. That, going to high school in the 80s, I dealt with the Hagler comparison quite a bit. And now I got the hair to match.
Oh, that's right.
See?
You truly are marvelous.
Slowly growing into that. So, hello, everybody. My name is Marv Dorner, as I was introduced by Mr. Jim Walsh over there on the ones and twos, spinning discs for us all morning. If he starts doing that, I'm going to start taking pictures. How about that? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about VR, virtual reality. Have you had the chance to play with any of the virtual reality goggles?
Well, no. I keep hearing about all these possibilities involving things like porn. Not that I have a personal interest.
Well, okay. Back to the tech ranch.
I hope my wife is not listening.
No, it's becoming. 2016 was supposed to be the year of virtual reality.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to walk on the beach or go to a city, or I've never visited, and have a virtual visit.
Yeah, that's sort of the promise.
You can kind of travel the world virtually.
Yeah, and that we'll see if that ever comes to reality. I actually own a Google Cardboard, which is I think about a $6. It's a little fold-together piece of cardboard they send you. Yeah, and you slap your cell phone in the middle of it, and you load up some apps.
Okay.
You have to hold it up to your head. It's not it's not the virtual reality goggles where you just stick them on, and you can see around and do all the things you have to do. So you have to actually physically hold it. So you're using a pair of binoculars.
Yeah.
And
hold it up to your face.
Yep. And you kind of look around and do the stuff. It's very limited, but it is kind of an interesting experience. I guess.
One I'm interested in are the ones would be the sports related ones where they put you at the plate swinging a bat,
right?
Or they put you in the boxing ring with Mike Tyson or Ali or whoever. Now I've been told I don't know about the psychology thing. I don't have a lot of training in psychology, but I'm told if you are virtually boxing and the boxer connects, say punches you right in the middle of the face,
sure, that
psychologically for a second you kind of actually feel it.
Well, yeah,
even though it's all happening in your head.
Yeah, you're gonna give it that little jerk to try to get out of the way. You watch a baseball game or watch a hockey game, and somebody throws a pitch and it falls off and goes back towards the screen. You see the people, even though they know there's a very reinforced screen in front of them, you always see them dive out of the way or spill their beer or whatever is going to happen. And I would assume Muhammad Ali throwing a punch square to your forehead, you might get a little flinchy.
Like that punch he threw at Sonny Liston that nobody saw, but Sonny certainly felt it. He went boom.
Put him down quick, didn't it?
And Ali's standing there going, "Get up, man. Get up and fight, damn it."
The guy was a lot of fun to watch for those of you who are a little too young to maybe have experience.
Formerly known as Cassius Marcellus Clay.
Yeah, I got in on the sort of the tail end of that, and got to see a few of his fights, and he was towards the end of his career. But one of those guys that I think everybody in the world knew who he was.
Yeah.
That was the difference. You see popular people and famous people, even with social media and the internet. I don't know if anybody's as famous as.
And now with virtual reality, a lot of these guys can quote unquote live again.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and virtual reality is one thing, and I don't know if you saw this, but a few years ago they used kind of hologram technology at Coachella Music Festival to bring back some of the, Tupac and some of the guys that are no longer with us, and they were actually able to perform with live performers on TV.
I remember hearing about that. I never actually saw the clip. Well, I saw a clip, and of course in a clip you're kind of at the mercy of the quality of the clip itself, which in this case was not very good, so it was hard for me to get a real impression of what was going on.
So it wasn't very immersive. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was not immersed in the experience.
It happens.
Not in this particular case.
It happens. And, that's probably the limitation is, they call it an immersive technology, but you're still you got this giant thing strapped to your head, and you're looking around trying to figure out what's going on, and probably trying to work controls with your hands.
Yeah.
And somebody's probably screaming at you from sitting next to you. What do you see? What do you see?
Well, it's like when High Def first came out, and they're running these commercials on TV, and they're saying, well, you probably can't really see it, but this is a great picture. Okay, guys.
Yeah, this is going to look great if you own a $7,000 television.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, most of us didn't have. Now everybody, I don't know.
Oh, the price went down finally.
Finally.
Like with computers.
Yes. Yeah. Computers are giving them away.
Yeah.
Just about. It's selling you software and other stuff. So just a couple of quick news stories that maybe hit on the technology side, and we can talk about them a little bit.
Sure.
Are you a LinkedIn user, Mr. Walsh?
Yes, I am. I've had a weird relationship with LinkedIn. I was on it, then I was off it, and then I got back on it again.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I was on it for a while, and nothing came of it, so I quit. I gave it up. I closed out the account. And then after I finished grad school about 6 months ago, I went to see the job counselor guy at the university.
Right.
And he said, first thing you got to do is get on LinkedIn. I went, no, come on. Just 3 days ago, I closed the thing out. Oh, you got to go back on again. It's very useful. Well,
you're going to love it now because Microsoft just bought it for $26 billion.
That's what I understand.
That's unbelievable.
There was one great line I heard. One of the comedians on one of the cable channels said the reason that Microsoft bought it is so they won't be getting any more spam from LinkedIn.
That is very very possible.
This way they can stop the spam.
Or lighten the load on just the email servers itself, because those of you who aren't familiar with LinkedIn or aren't on it, it is a social media somewhat like Facebook, but it's supposedly targets professionals. It's the world's largest professional network.
Job networking, job finding, more businessy.
Mm-hmm. And there's 400 million subscribers, so
it's a fine line.
At least they got a they're paying, I don't know what's that to add up to, 26 billion divided by 400 million. That's still a lot of money.
That's still a lot of money, yeah.
So,
well, a billion is 1,000 million, at least in American math. I understand in Britain it's different.
Could be different, yeah.
But American math, 1,000 times a million is a billion.
Jeez.
I'll do the math.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. But, they're going to find a way to market to that group.
Yeah.
And those of you who are on LinkedIn do see ads, and I've actually, as a internet marketer, have used LinkedIn ads to somewhat of a level of it's worked for some companies and some for not for others.
Now, not to be cynical or anything, but generally when you see a big transaction like this, the first thing people say is, well, they're over. They wouldn't be getting around to it now if it was still the hot thing. I don't know.
They did buy Skype a few years ago. Microsoft bought Skype, and that didn't
Does
hurt
anybody
that.
use Skype anymore?
I work with a couple of guys.
I mean, there's nothing
that's
really
our
wrong
main
with it.
Communication tool.
Oh, it still is.
But we text back and forth. We send messages.
Okay, good.
Alrighty, well, I tell you what, we're going to talk a little bit more about virtual reality coming up real quick on 1270 Super Talk and the Tech Ranch.
Right now, 66.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. My name is Marv Dorner, filling in for Marlo Anderson. We're going to be joined pretty quick here in about 10-15 minutes by Katie Metaverse, so she'll be joining us to contribute to this VR discussion. Jim and I were just traveling virtually, thinking of what we would do with $26 billion, and it wouldn't be buying LinkedIn.
Marv, don't take this personally, but if I had $1 billion in my pocket right now, I probably would not be here.
You and me both, man.
Don't take it the wrong way, bud, but love you, man. But
we would be sitting somewhere listening to the radio a lot, I think.
Probably.
That's probably how that would go. But today's conversation is about virtual reality and just a little history or a little definition of what this is, because it is it's a fun technology, but it's one of those things where people they don't do it all the time. It's not a smartphone, it's not a computer, it's not their telephone, it's something odd. So I was trying so hard today to find a definition for virtual reality, and it's impossible.
Yeah.
It is impossible. The best thing I could come up with is immersive multimedia.
Yeah.
and even that's out there a ways. So basically, what is it? It's
I mean, how do you
headgear.
describe it to somebody who's never done it? Most folks today, our age or younger, at least have a general idea what we're talking about. But how do you describe it to somebody who's totally new to it?
You know, it's putting on a set of headgear.
Yeah.
And it's either connected to a computer via whatever, wireless or a cord, or you can you can put your cell phone in there. And it has two lenses, and by separating them, it kind of makes everything 3D.
Well, what I tell people is, you go to an arcade and they have these like baseball games where you have the TV screen there, but it's like you're standing at the bat and the guy's going to throw the ball at you, and you swing at it with the bat you're holding, and it's one step beyond that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's enclosed. You know, you're inside it. Everywhere you look, everywhere you turn your head, if you look up, down, sideways, you're going to be moved within that world that's created by the computer programmer or the videographer or whoever.
And, of course, the possibilities for marketing that thing are just endless. I mean, fulfilling all kinds of fantasies.
Sure. Well, apparently you've
some of which
been
we
researching some of these.
Some of which we won't discuss in polite company, but aside from the more unseen, let's say you're a history buff. You want to tour the Gettysburg battlefield, the anniversary of the battles coming up. You can put these things on and actually stand there and, this is where Robert E. Lee did such and such. It can be very educational.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the uses, and Katie will probably talk about these a little bit, is inside the educational facilities, you could have a classroom, and I believe it was Facebook at one of the events last year. Everybody had a virtual headset on. Yeah. And Mark Zuckerberg walked right past him up to the. There's pictures of him walking past this group of people, and everybody's just got these virtual reality head things, and they're looking around like this is the best thing ever. And Mark's walking right next to him, right up to the stage, and all of a sudden he appears. They take him off, and he's standing there. And so that was kind of interesting to watch how immersed they were into that technology.
Well, there was a few years ago, actually a couple of decades ago, there was a study, at the time it was related to television, where they had, they got some celebrity, like a George Clooney kind of guy, and they got him to walk in. They had a TV camera, and he was standing there in person, and the camera was taking a picture of him and showing it on the TV screen. So you've got George Clooney, the real guy, standing right there in front of you, and you've got George Clooney on a TV screen. Guess which image most people were looking at? Most people were looking at the TV screen.
I believe it.
Guy's standing right there, and they're looking at the screen.
Go to a big sporting event.
Yeah.
And everybody's watching, instead of the action down on the ice or on the field or on whatever, they're watching a Jumbotron, or they're watching some other thing going on instead of what's happening around them. And you go to any concert now, and 90% of the people are holding up a cell phone recording it, and they're watching this tiny 5-inch screen instead of you're at the concert.
I remember when that concept was brand new. I saw Billy Joel in a concert in Washington, D.C. back in the early 80s. And that whole concept of the big screen was just coming in. And he's sitting there, and and Billy himself, he's kind of fascinated. He's looking up at himself, and he's making faces and acting like he's picking his nose and all that, just kind of mugging for it.
Well, that's got to be sort of surreal, 1984-ish, to be standing on a screen and then look behind you and you see your head.
Yeah, back of your head or whatever.
25 times the size of your body, and that's just got to look.
Well, what's really weird is when you're looking at an image of yourself on a TV screen and it's the back of your head. And what's the first thing you try to do? You turn your head around so you can look the other way, and oh no, it didn't work.
Nope. Nope. Yeah, weird how that works, huh?
Right.
But I was doing some research on the older, on the history of VR, and it goes all the way back, basically as old as I am, which is kind of scary. 1968. I was born in '69, so right behind it.
Well, I mean, I guess you could trace it all the way back to the days when we had those little 3D things that we stuck up to our face.
I got the Viewmaster written down as being a possibility, and that was kind of the mid '60s. And
that was a great toy.
It was a great introduction into this world because you're 3D. and you can slide through things. You don't not really immersed in it that you can look around
Right.
and that sort of thing. But it's very similar to the current VR stuff because it's something that's mounted to your head.
Yeah.
It's separate. They're divided lenses, so now you're getting things in 3D, and you can just click through them. And I'm sure there's probably still a ViewMaster. There's got to be a ViewMaster still available. I can't
would
imagine
think,
they would stop producing them.
I'll Google it during the break once we get Katie ready to go.
You're going to go buy one. I just
Probably.
try to find old clips of the Grand Canyon. And
Well, the
that sort of
virtual
thing.
thing, does that work in 3D? I mean, I guess it would if you put it up
does.
to your
and
face.
that's maybe one of the big problems that you have with virtual reality. It's that almost a motion sickness. If you use it for a fair amount of time, your body doesn't know how to control because you're there, but you're not.
Well, it's like we were talking earlier about the sporting thing, about the boxing, where I remember in the early 90s, they were starting to come out with these virtual things in arcades where you put it on your head, and it was like you were boxing with George Foreman or whoever. And psychologically, George takes a swing. If he connects with your nose for a split second, you actually feel like you've been hit in the nose by George Foreman.
Yeah, I don't need that.
No, me neither.
There's certain things.
Your brain is playing tricks on you.
If I got to take a virtual reality tool and walk down the Vegas Strip, that's one thing. If somebody's going to come out of the crowd and hit me with a baseball bat or something, not part of the experience I need to deal with. That's just a weird deal. But
I mean, you have all these violent video games. I don't know if I could get through it if I was actually in my head, I was actually experiencing the guy hitting me in the head or whatever.
Yeah, or shooting at you. I mean, there's so many different things, and that's one of the big maybe avenues for virtual reality is the gaming world, and that's probably you did mention the adult film stuff, and that seems to lead the way for a lot of technologies over the year. I mean, it's you look at VCRs. That's basically how VCR won out over beta. The computer internet
or VHS, you mean?
Or VHS, yep. And to see the computer internet gaming or not gaming, but just download video sites. Unfortunately,
remember,
that's one of the leaders there, and just.
We all had that one guy we knew who spent his last dollar on beta equipment because he thought, and he was perfectly justified in doing so.
It was
he
an
thought,
awesome
well,
technology.
beta is the better system, so it's going to prevail. Well, no.
The best always doesn't win, unfortunately.
Not necessarily.
And you'll see that, even now, and maybe not so much now, but 4 or 5 years ago, Apple still had the Macintosh computer was still superior. To a PC, and I don't know if I think that gap has closed significantly with Windows 10 and the new hardware and just the lack of advances in the Mac side. So maybe that's not as big a deal, but in virtual reality, you really don't see as much on the Apple side, which is odd. You would think that that demographic and that type of user would be much more apt to attach themselves to kind of an immersive area than an Android or a PC market, which Samsung actually seems to be leading the way on the hardware side with that Samsung VR, and they're literally giving them away with a new purchase of a phone now.
Let me ask you, Marv, given the way things are right now today, what would be the absolute cutting edge as far as this kind of technology? What is it capable of doing for somebody who has more money than sense, who wants to go out and invest in one of these systems right now? How good a system can they get? What is it capable of doing?
There's right on the They're right on the cusp of launching this 4K video stuff.
Okay.
And that's actually, I think, Xbox, PlayStation, and some of the others are starting to incorporate this into their gaming systems, and they're right on the edge of bringing in 4K video, which is amazing. And I think that would be...
Now, right on the edge, we're talking, what, a matter of months, weeks?
17. You know, you're probably looking at maybe for Christmas. Probably
Christmas this year or next year?
Christmas this year.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think you're getting close there, and it got a lot of that got announced at E3 last week. So.
Excellent.
Alrighty, well, we'll continue this conversation with VR. We'll also bring in Miss Metaverse in just a few minutes.
Right now, 66.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tech Ranch. My name is
Yeah.
Marv Dorner, and we're here with Jim Walsh in
Hello.
studio. And we are also joined by Katie, Miss Metaverse, on the telephone, if you can believe that. How you
From
doing, Katie?
New York. No, so nice they named it twice. I'm sorry.
Hello, how are you? I'm back.
Doing
Yeah.
well. It's been a long time since we've talked. It's probably been 8 or 9 months.
Katie and I
since we
both
did.
were a little under the weather about a week ago.
I know.
Yeah, we both had our own separate things going. We won't get into that. but
Spring fever, probably.
my wife might have some issues.
Yeah.
And Katie's husband.
Yeah, it happens. So, Katie, how are you doing out there?
Doing well, thank you. It's nice and warm over here in New York, and just relaunched my website today.
Oh,
Excellent.
boy. So you're either extremely relieved or completely stressed out.
Oh, somewhere balance between the both, because I think that, with redoing a website, there's a lot of work that goes into it,
Yep.
and it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, and there's always little things for the next couple of weeks that you'll see or wish you would have done different, so you change them, and it becomes a process. So good luck with that.
Thank you.
I do that all day, every day, so I understand that completely.
Yes. And the website is mybodai.com, so you can go check it out. And,
will.
Okay, I'll bring it right up
we have
here.
some new examples of our
Soon
VR
as-
assets we just made.
Yeah, that works out well. So we're going to continue our discussion with virtual reality. I'm sure you're a little bit familiar with some of the VR stuff that's been floating around out there. Have you used
Absolutely.
some VR stuff,
That's what
or
I was
were
just
you
saying
out at
before.
E3?
We put some assets on our website, and it's so exciting. It's so crazy to see how futuristic it looks already, considering. It's still in its infancy, but yet you see like how the characters look so alive. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Like I said, the best description I could come up with, or the definition of virtual reality I come up with, was immersive technology. That was seemed to be the underlying context to that.
Yeah,
So,
we're trying to figure out how to describe it to
Yeah.
somebody who's never seen it before.
Right.
right. So what are some of the consumer uses that you've either seen or where you expect some of this to go? And we can talk about the business stuff afterwards, but I'm kind of curious more on the consumer side right now.
Well, I think on the consumer side, there's a lot of different ways that I guess what some people would call mixed realities are having a huge effect on things. And mixed realities mean augmented and virtual reality.
Right.
And the differences between the two of them is that virtual reality is those, the Oculus Rift headset. You have to wear a headset over your head, and it's more of a closed-in environment, like a video game. And the difference with augmented reality is like those many apps that you see. For instance, IKEA has a augmented reality app that you hold up your
Yep.
smartphone or your
Yeah.
tablet, and you could see what the furniture looks like in your room. And that would be a good example of a virtual reality becoming part of a consumer's lifestyle. Being able to visualize what things will look like in your reality, merging the virtual and physical worlds.
Have you seen much on the movie side? I know there was just and I was trying to recall what the movie was called. There was one that just got released this summer where a guy was basically looked like he was wearing a GoPro.
Right.
And
Yeah, it looked like the whole movie was one big long video
yeah,
game.
and he was just watching
Yeah.
him jump around from off of trains and scale down a
It was
wall.
all from
and,
his perspective, from his own eyes.
And I was curious if something like that, if you've seen much. I haven't been to some of these conferences that maybe you've attended or have taken part in, and have you seen more of that sort of on the horizon?
Yeah, well, there's another great website that's called Carsfera, and what they do is they focus just on the future of cars and technology, which is pretty cool,
Yeah.
And one of the things that I saw was I went with them to go check out the Jacob Javits Center show. It's the New York Car Show. So when I went there, I got to meet all kinds of different people, see all kinds of different technologies coming out. And one of the coolest things I saw there was a VR experience, and that was a Lexus, kind of a VR experience where you sit in a chair, like a driver's seat, and you pretend, I guess you put the headset over your head, and all of a sudden you're inside this virtual world, and you are in the passenger seat of a race car driver doing a Formula One race. And it was so real. You know, I did it on a whim. I didn't really expect much out of it because it wasn't even like a, you know, it was probably your more lower-end line type of VR headset I was wearing. And it was the first time I tried this specific one. And I was blown away. It was really cool. I mean, it was between you sitting in the driver's seat and you already feel, you know, your body feels like you're inside the car already.
Right.
And then with the headset, you look around, it's cool.
Yeah, we were talking about the perceived feedback you're getting, your body gets, you know, in a boxing game or something where somebody
in a
throws
boxing
punch
game
at
where
you
somebody
and
hits you in the face, and for a second there in your mind, you actually feel it.
yeah, so I can't imagine what it'd be in a Formula One car going 190 miles an hour,
and you wipe out, and whoa.
No, did they have anything else hooked up as far as you know, sort of a motion chair or you know, wind machine or something like that, kind of to get you that extra feeling, or was it just strictly VR?
I think the visuals alone and just sitting in that, you know, car seat, you really do kind of feel like you're so blown away by the visuals of it. You actually do feel like you're in a race car, and that's how it doesn't take so much to even blur the lines between this simulated reality. It's pretty wild. And like you're saying before, that was a good example of how this virtual reality is so easy to make you feel like you're in that world. Like, for example, there's one that came out recently. It was a demo where they recorded these participants who were walking a plank on it was just a regular piece of wood. It was a large piece of wood that they're walking across, and they had it like a plush toy that looked like a cat. So this plush toy cat was on the other side of this plank of wood, and the people wearing the Oculus headset are walking across. But what they're seeing is that they're walking across this skyscraper, and they're looking down, and they actually feel like they have the vertigo, like they're going to fall, and it's scary. So it's funny to watch, you know.
Yeah, your brain does some cool things, I think, when it just fills in the gaps and you know, kind of makes you feel a little bit nauseous or unbalanced or some of the other things that you shouldn't be feeling.
I would think there would be some application there for things like military training, where you can actually put the soldier in a simulated combat condition and kind of get them to where they don't, you know, if they have a problem with it, you can put them in there and psychologically maybe kind of get them used to it so they can function better under those conditions.
Absolutely. One of the coolest things I've seen in terms of merging technology like VR and also neuroscience with military training was that they had this study where these expert pilots would go in and they would fly a flight simulator.
Right.
Now, of course, they are expert pilots, so they could do it very well. What they found was that by putting sensors on these pilots' heads while they're doing this simulation, that they could capture that data and then be able to see which areas of the brain are firing off when they're doing certain moves.
Yeah.
And then what they did was they found someone who was a novice, an amateur pilot, and what they did was they put sensors on their heads so that when they tried to do their version of the simulator, they would actually give a little sensation in those same areas. And they found that it's in some kind of way almost like learning like the Matrix. It's kind of finding ways of hacking your brain to learn things faster, which is amazing.
Boy, I don't know if I want sensors on my head.
But you're saying that the folks who are using this system, they would actually learn faster with it than your more traditional. Right. I mean, flight simulators have been around for a number of decades now.
Yep.
But you're saying that this kind of takes it a whole different step in terms of learning.
Yes, because the difference is right now we're having so many breakthroughs in biotech that we're literally hacking our human bodies. We're able to see how our brain reacts to certain kinds of conditions, and by studying those conditions, now scientists are able to start studying ways they could perhaps cheat the system a little bit by helping people who aren't naturally talented or skilled in certain areas or need a boost, be able to help them along on their way or expedite their training like that. So I think it's very fascinating, definitely.
We need to get some sensors on there and figure out why people like chocolate, and then just virtually make them feel like they're eating chocolate when they're eating, celery or something like that. How about we need something like that? That would be perfect.
I wish, right? That would be amazing. But who knows? Let's say there are some things that seem more invasive than others. But one thing is that we have to keep in mind is that most of the invasive things that are being done right now are to really genuinely help people who need it.
True.
And in a lot of ways, there are amazing breakthroughs happening. There was a young man, who lived for a year without a heart. He had a heart in a backpack that he lived. That's amazing. I mean, the scientific and medical breakthroughs are amazing. And virtual reality is helping people learn faster so they can master their art and whatever they do in science or technology. And be able to improve it and help speed it along faster. So that's the goal.
Yeah, I could see simulators just being a huge deal for any corporate environment, any sort of professional activity. I think you'd just see a huge increase in the ability to learn something would just be unbelievable. So well, we're going to continue on with some VR discussion and probably some augmented reality discussion coming up real soon after the break.
Right now, 70.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. supertalk1270.com.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. My name is Marv Dorner, filling in for Marlo Anderson again.
Yeah, I have no idea where he is.
Hey, we're doing this again next week. Did you know
right.
that? So we're we get the keys to the car one more time.
Yeah.
Joined by Miss Metaverse from New York, and we're talking a little bit about virtual reality. We should take a virtual reality tour to New York. That's what we should do, Jim.
Yeah.
Right when
Well,
we're
I've
done.
been to New York. It would be interesting to compare it with the actual experience.
That would be different.
Yeah.
So one of the things we touched on a little bit about the last segment was augmented reality, and I think that definitely has some benefits as far as training and maintenance and repair and just a lot of the other things. Katie, what are some of the things that you've seen on the augmented reality side?
On the augmented reality side, we see all kinds of different things happening. Originally, there was a lot of apps that were very early when they first came out a couple years ago. Probably around 2014 was when a lot of augmented reality apps started coming out. And we saw those coming out in the form of some games, and some of them were just more of a kind of nostalgic kind of thing to play around with. For instance, you would women could take an app, look at their nails, have an instant manicure, things like that. Things that are more around playing around with and
vanity
having fun
stuff,
with the look of things. And on the other hand, now we're seeing augmented reality on social media. Look at Snapchat. Snapchat recently started having filters where you could have a Snapchat video, and then you press a button, and your face morphs into a dog or a magician or all kinds of different filters. So it looks kind of like a digital world over the physical world. So it's really cool to see happening.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the gaming aspect of it, and Marv and I were actually talking about this before we came back, about the fact that two of the big areas, obviously, for this kind of technology, like it or not, for better or for worse, will be gaming and what we'll euphemistically call adult entertainment.
Yes.
And what I'm wondering is how much of the industry at large is going to be driven by these two sub-industries because of, the massive amount of money and customers involved.
Well, I believe there is a lot of that for sure already happening today. You see that there's just the other day I saw I think it was an Indiegogo campaign for something that maybe I won't even say the name of the company over the
We don't
the
have
radio.
to.
No, that's probably a good
but
idea.
Rather, let's just say it has the name Girls in it. It's not an R-rated name anyway. I just don't know if I should tip off anybody of funding it.
I think I know which
but
one
we
you're
see
talking
it,
about.
And it
yeah.
raised $98,000, and all it is a, in quotes, girlfriend experience. So it's about having a virtual girlfriend that is more kind of like a game that you play.
Yeah.
It's got very light artificial intelligence. It's really more of a chat bot that you speak to, but it looks like a real woman, a digitized version.
Yeah.
And you talk to her and things like that and so on. But there's a lot of money in it, and it definitely is driving a lot of
Yeah.
things, a lot of technology. So I think that, I guess the saying goes that there is that aspect of it, and it will always continue driving
Yeah.
technology, but I think that it's everywhere now, really. I mean, you could say it's in all areas, from your IKEA store to
Sure.
your kid's Snapchat filter to everything.
Now, you mentioned cars in the last segment. Where you're at a car show and some other things. What have you seen on the automobile side as far as augmented stuff? Heads-up displays and cameras and all that stuff. Where are we at as far as getting that sort of staged for the next group of vehicles that are coming?
Oh my goodness. I mean, things are changing in so many ways. One thing that's going to be changing everything will be the automation, the autonomous cars. There was a video I watched the other day, and it was the new Rolls-Royce, the super futuristic Rolls-Royce they came out with. I forget the name of it. And it has, just like you said, augmented reality, light-up dashboards, and it's like a virtual experience. And I think that in the future we'll be seeing more and more cars eventually become autonomous and turn into like driving studios that you don't have to
Yeah.
take over and drive yourself, that the cars will drive themselves. Your cars will become more like entertainment centers on wheels. And it's going to be fun. I think it'll be really cool. There's a lot of different ways that augmented and virtual reality are changing things. And even something like the way cars are made, cars through cameras and the camera systems around them, you can make it appear as if the car can change into a mode where it looks like there's no doors. Everything is clear. Almost looks like the entire car is encased in windows. So I think the way cars are going to look will change because of these neat things we could do with cameras and effects and things like that. So I think that it's going to be very interesting for sure in the next 20 years.
Well, one of the things that really got my attention a couple of years ago, or about a year and a half ago, was the Scully motorcycle helmet, being a motorcycle rider. And those of you who have never seen that, I definitely encourage you to go check this out online. But basically what it is, it's a full-faced helmet, and the screen, the windscreen actually serves as a heads-up display. So it'll show speed, interfacing with your smartphone, of course. Mm-hmm. It'll show your speed. It'll show navigation if you set a map coordinates that you're trying to get to. It'll show, there's actually a little mini screen that appears, and it'll show you behind you and to either side, right and left, so you can kind of see if there's people coming up on you or if you want to change lanes. And it's just unbelievable what this thing is. The advancements just in the last couple of years since this got announced to where it is now, and now that you can actually purchase it, it's just, like Katie said, it's leaps forward from where it was. The technology is changing so quickly.
Now, you're talking about something, Marv, that you would actually wear while you're on the motorcycle?
I would.
It's a motorcycle helmet.
Yes. And
Now, I wonder, to kind of take this and turn it around and go the other way, not that I'm a pessimistic guy by nature, but would having something like this, would there be a danger of a trained motorcycle rider like yourself and myself, would there not be a danger of us kind of losing our edge if we start to rely too much on all this technology in terms of our skills to the point where it might actually pose a danger to us?
I make the same conversation when I see, they show on TV now a guy backing up out of a parking spot, and instead of just looking over each shoulder to see if there's people coming, he's looking at his backup screen. Yeah. And he doesn't see that other vehicle come into play until it's almost literally right behind them, and he hits brakes quick.
Well, I mean, it used to be like, for example, if you went to truck driving school, they would teach you how to back up a semi. And if you got computers to do it for you now and you no longer have to do it, is that going to come back to haunt you in the future if you don't have those skills properly developed? Or if you've had the skills, but you stop using them and they kind of atrophy and cease to work for you?
Yeah, probably. But the other argument could be you could actually train this thing maybe sitting in your lounger at home, throw on a virtual reality headset, and using some of the other tools, stay sharp. Because you're literally parking that truck while you're sitting there watching, Game of Thrones or something.
Okay.
It's a weird kind of way to envision this, but I think you could train anywhere at any time for anything. And I think that's what Katie was talking about last.
Okay.
The last segment was it's making this training and this other events so easy to get to and so easy to do that you should be able to get better faster.
Good.
I think that should be the way it should work. Healthcare is sort of that. They like to use all this existing technology and be on the cutting edge of new technology. What have you seen in the healthcare industry as far as this virtual or augmented reality stuff?
Well, it looks amazing. I saw something the other day. I'm on Facebook all the time. It's crazy. It's an addiction for sure. Because there's so many videos, and if you follow my timeline, it's just constant videos all day. One of the things I saw, I think it was last week, it was so cool. It made me want to go to med school. Seriously, what they have now is these augmented reality programs where students can be in this virtual classroom, and instead of having to even have, let's say, a cadaver so that they could study like you do in med school, right?
Yeah.
Instead, they have virtual bodies that they work on, and they have virtual anatomy. And it's really amazing to see because it looks so real and it's right there. And plus, people can have it on their smartphone, they can have it on their tablet. So rather than before, when you had a textbook and you had to go home and you can only rely on these little pictures, now any student can just have this life-size anatomy book in their room and be able to look at these digital representations of the human body and learn faster. So
go inside your heart. Go inside a heart like that. There's a museum in Philadelphia where they have a giant heart. It fills up a whole room and you can walk through it. And with this, you could actually do it on your phone at home.
Yeah, that would be weird, huh?
Yeah. Just Fantastic. Remember that movie where they shrunk everybody down?
Oh, yeah.
They put them
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or just kind of take your little journey through the human anatomy.
Fantastic voyage.
Yeah. All right. Well, Katie, why don't you give us that website again that you're just launched today, and where they can contact you?
Great. The website is mybodai.com, and you can reach me on Twitter at Miss Metaverse. And if you Google Miss Metaverse, you'll find me.
All right. Perfect. And you hit the phone screen accident. My name is Marv Dorner. I will be back next week. Marlo is going to be on location, I guess. We'll just call it that. So we will talk to you next week on another Tech Ranch.
Looking forward to it.